What's up, guys? Welcome to Information Operation. I'm Connor Ryan, and we're coming at you from Marquette, Michigan, bringing you your locally sourced ideas, thoughts, and inquiries. Today on the podcast, we feature Valerie Olson. She is the owner of the Wellness Centre in Marquette, and she has a lot to share about nutrition, micronutrients, water, electromagnetic fields, health, wellness, big pharma. It's incredible to talk to somebody with this much research and this much time put into health. So I know that if you're listening, you will learn something. Enjoy. Follow the sun. Valerie Olson, welcome to the show. Thanks for being here today.
Thanks. It's good to be here.
How are you?
I'm good. It's a beautiful day in the UP.
Feeling well?
Yes,
Beautiful.
I do feel well. Just had a wonderful workout. Thank you.
No problem. My pleasure. So we're talking about health. That's pretty broad. Let's start with what you do.
So I am the director of the Wellness Center of Marquette, and I would call myself a wellness educator. I try to teach the people who come to me for help what they can do to improve their health and address their health concerns and any issues, conditions they have going on. So I would call myself a wellness consultant, a wellness educator. I have my certification in something called Meridian stress assessment, which is a kind of biofeedback work that allows me to see which organs and systems in the body are showing stress. So then I can go from there and I can test for food sensitivities. I can test for how compatible certain nutrients are with the body, nutritional supplements. Everything doesn't
Sure.
match everybody.
Sure, everybody's
so
different.
I ask people to bring what they're taking, bring what they have so I can test it and see which ones are actually improving stress readings, which ones are they really responding to energetically. So it's good to have that tool because it tells me a lot.
Right.
I can tell, wow, they have this really negative reaction to wheat, which is
Right.
really what I see with about everyone.
Yeah, that one's
Because
common.
that's really, even when they aren't celiac, it doesn't mean they don't have a sensitivity, but wheat is a really not a healthy food anymore since we changed the seed about 50 years ago. So we have it causing inflammation in all kinds of ways in the body. And now, fortunately, wonderfully, we have some amazing MDs who have written books on how wheat is impacting the brain.
Wow.
The neurologist, David Perlmutter wrote a wonderful book called Grain Brain and how, the improvement he sees in his patients who have Alzheimer's, dementia, MS, ADHD, when he gets them off of wheat specifically, and sometimes other grains, they just make dramatic improvements.
Sure.
And you have cardiologists like William Davis, who has an amazing blog, who've written books also on wheat, and a number of MDs, Dr. Fung, so many, and it's exciting to see what they're writing that's affecting their patients.
Because
and here they
it's-
are specialists, you
Right.
know?
It's addressing a new problem. And it seems like this problem is evolving as time goes on with the new coming of nutrition and the new coming of ways that we produce our food and our new lifestyle choices. Things are changing as time goes on, and we need to adapt to that.
Right, and they're really not changing fast enough for the people who are trying to find answers. You have so much information on the internet, and it is hard to sort it out. And I really love leaning on the MDs that I've had as teachers, mentors. Dr. David Brownstein is an amazing MD from the Detroit area, and Dr. Mark Hyman, who's written several bestsellers on detoxification, on what you can do to get well. He's a functional medicine doc, and so there are these wonderful doctors that I've had classes with who are basically saying, if you address the underlying cause of your issue, you can turn things around.
Right.
And it's really the same. It doesn't matter what people come to me with, as far as the name. we all need the same nutrients,
Yeah.
We all need many nutrients that aren't in our food anymore. And part of the big problem is our food is so depleted now,
Right. So what's interesting, I hear you mention, Alzheimer's and ADD and dementia and these things that may not have been such a relevant problem in the past. Do you attribute
Right.
that to the way we've evolved producing our food?
Yeah, I think it's real interesting that America as a nation, we spend more than the next 10 industrialized countries on healthcare. And yet we are at the bottom of all the health parameters. Longevity of, life,
Mm-hmm.
length of life, incidence of cancer, incidence of heart disease, mortality of infants, autism in children, mental illness, Alzheimer's. Wow, we are at the bottom of all of, if you take the top
Right.
29 countries, I was looking at a graph and Dr. Brownstein was teaching some of this in my classes. We do not fare well as a nation. We do
What do
not have
you
good
what
health.
do you attribute that to?
I think part of it is our very processed food supply that's more and more void of nutrients as time goes on, but it also is containing many toxic ingredients. We have genetically modified foods that are being put into our food. We also, and that's really a big issue, and the truth is the science has been done, and no, it's not safe, but now we're putting GMO corn and soy, and wheat has actually been genetically altered. We're putting these into all kinds of processed packaged foods.
Yeah.
So we
Including
have
our
to
meat.
learn, right, we have to learn, okay, how do I get simple, clean food?
Right.
It doesn't have to be terribly expensive. And in fact, processed food is, I always tell my clients, processed food is what's expensive. Even if you get a cheap box of cereal, it's expensive because it costs anything and there's no value in it.
Wow.
And once when I was in high
You're
school,
paying for nothing.
yeah, I know. It's like ripping up your dollars and throwing them on the floor. When I was in high school, my dad went to a seminar. He was a dentist and he loved to hear these integrative doctors teach, and they'd invite them to the dental seminars. So I remember my dad coming home and saying, wow, we've been eating all wrong. I learned this from Dr. Ken Cooper, who wrote the book Aerobics, who now is 83, last I looked him up, and probably still running. You know, he taught the classes. He told all these dentists, and I know there were doctors there too, we have to stop eating the white foods, the white sugar, the white flour, the white pasta, the white breads, because they're so depleted. They're giving us nothing except carbohydrate. They're really causing inflammation. They're not good foods. And, the last thing my dad said, which I never forgot as a junior in high school, and Dr. Cooper said, if you buy box cereals, you are better off to dump out the cereal and eat the box for fiber. And I'm thinking, you've lost it, Dad.
Right,
Right.
right.
It's like you're thinking, come on. I'm
Yeah.
a junior in high school. I'm
Yeah.
thinking everything changed at home. And
Right.
he said, Mom's going to start baking whole wheat bread, making it with honey instead of white
Yes.
sugar.
And when was
da-da-da-da-da.
this?
Well, 50 years ago,
Right.
okay?
So have you been on that same track ever since?
I have been pretty much on that track, and I think it's a good thing because I wasn't well until I was about 45, even following that track, because I had an undiagnosed autoimmune thyroid condition, and that was a good journey to, I mean, it was hard, but if they didn't find it until I was 45, that means I didn't feel well until I had a doctor who happened to be my children's doctor. Listen to me.
Right.
She actually listened and said, let me do some other testing, because all the doctors had done is 1 or 2 tests and saying, oh, no, you're fine. It's not your thyroid. And I didn't know enough to say, but gee, would you go do some other
Yeah.
testing?
Yeah.
So she did. She found my raging autoimmune condition. My body was attacking my thyroid. My thyroid was really under fire. My antibodies were off the charts. And then she told me what to do, to stop gluten, to stop dairy, and take some iodine, and
Yeah.
she gave me a med, not Synthroid. She gave me a desiccated thyroid med, and it really changed my life.
Sure.
Like at 45, I'm finally warm. We moved to the UP soon after that, and Before that, I would never have felt warm when it was 20 below. I was warm, I had my energy back, and all I could think of was, wow, I could have felt this good for
My
the
whole
last
life.
30 years. Yeah,
Yeah.
right.
Right. So
And
that sounds kind of like a big wake up, like,
a big wake up. I
yeah.
mean, my youngest was 4, and I was struggling with energy. I wasn't feeling good. And then all of a sudden, I feel so much better.
Mm-hmm.
So that kind of led me on a journey to how many other people are not getting help with this issue or other issues that relate to nutrition and their health. And so I started going to classes, and then I went and got my training and my certification and my advanced certification in MSA. And listening to these doctors, these were the MDs who were, I call them the pioneers, the seeker learners, the ones who know they didn't learn everything in medical school and they need to keep learning.
Forever a
And
student.
forever. And Dr. David Brownstein, he's written over 15 books now. Mark Hyman has written books. And, their approach is you have to find the underlying cause of the condition that the patient's dealing with.
Right.
And if you don't address the underlying cause and all you do is medicate symptoms, are you really helping the patient? He actually said that in one of my classes, and he said, and this is not the approach I was taught in medical school, And he made a joke of, I want to tell you how much nutrition I learned in medical school. And he put up his hand and he did this. He said,
0.
no, I had to learn it all on my own. I had to, as soon as I saw a protocol work with my dad, who was very sick with heart disease and on, blood pressure med and cholesterol meds and all kinds of issues. And he was pretty much fresh out of medical school, and his dad was not doing well, had had a heart attack at 42, a second heart attack at 45 years old. And they were all concerned about him, he and his siblings and his mom.
Sure.
And he thought, I don't know what to do to help my dad. And about that time, he was given a book called Nutrition and Disease, written by an MD, Jonathan Wright. And he took the book home. He just read the chapter on the heart and heart disease and what he could do to help his dad with heart disease. He implemented that with his dad, which was identifying his dad actually was low thyroid. And he said my dad would not change how he ate. He said he was not eating well and he didn't want to make changes.
Sure.
Just getting him on some thyroid, and he saw these big changes within 6 weeks. He didn't need his meds.
Right.
His blood pressure normalized, his cholesterol normalized. And so that made such an impression on Dr. Brownstein. It was like, wow, why didn't I learn this in medical school?
Right.
Why didn't they teach me this?
Right.
And the real problem is we're not teaching that to our doctors. We're teaching them to how do we diagnose and these are the meds we can give, to take care of this problem. And so it's sad because when we have this food supply that is just becoming less and less nutritious, so that we are getting fewer nutrients for the body to work. The body needs nutrients to do its work. Every organ system in the body needs adequate nutrients to function normally. And we have less and less in our food because there's less and less in our soil. And we do need to supplement. We need to take nutrients.
Yeah, a lot of
We
people, that's kind of the trend right now. They would argue you can get everything in your normal diet.
Yeah.
What's wrong with that?
If we lived in the Garden of Eden and we were fresh picking our food and eating it, the soil was rich, we did not have environmental toxins that cause us to need even more nutrients.
So this is a new epidemic,
Yeah.
This is a new problem because we've never encountered this level of population or farming.
Right.
So,
And we also have people are reacting to toxins environmentally. We have toxins in the air. We have fluoride and chlorine in the water, which is blocking normal thyroid function, and it should not be in the water. And people have to get water filters or find another source of water because we have all these different chemicals entering the body, and the body is not able to function normally. And so we have increased nutritional needs because we have increased toxins to clear out,
Right.
and we're getting less in our food. And even something like iodine, which Dr. Brownstein wrote a whole book on, no, we cannot get enough in iodized salt, period. If you did the studies, if you look at the studies, first of all, only 10% of what's in iodized salt is absorbable. Second of all, it's not nearly enough. A recommended daily allowance is getting changed all the time. But if you actually bother to look at tissue levels of iodine, and there are only a couple labs in the country that do that, you're going to see everyone, as Dr. Brownstein says. I have checked 6,000 patients with my 2 colleagues in my office. 96% of them are woefully deficient in iodine. The other 4% are usually supplementing. And that leaves us, every cell in the body needs iodine.
Right.
We're taught the only thing that needs it is the thyroid. That's not true. It's part of our cancer surveillance system. It's what allows the adrenal glands to make hormones. I mean, we have needs for iodine all through the body. So if we're missing it, and we're missing something else critical like vitamin D, we live in the UP. We're not getting sun how many months out of the year?
Right.
Everyone needs to take vitamin D,
Yes.
and no, 1,000
And,
isn't enough.
a lot of local people listen to this too, and I'm not sure. Like, I'm a health professional, right? I went to school for health and fitness management at Northern, and I never heard about iodine.
Yeah.
It was never
well,
included, right?
Yeah.
And iodine, you said cancer surveillance. If they would have told me that, hey, you could get less likely to get cancer if you take your iodine, why is this not getting out there?
Well, the information that gets out there, it is out there, like on Dr. Brownstein's website, he writes about it. But as far as our mainstream medical system, or even, it's not. Dr. Brownstein says it this way: we have a broken medical system that's been very much hijacked by the pharmaceuticals, and they are controlling a lot of what is learned by doctors and the public.
How so?
And because they are giving research money to the medical schools, they are contributing to, they're funding journals like the Journal of the American Medical Association. So they control a lot of what's being published. And something that has to do with a medication gets published over something that is just, okay, this is a nutrient that your body needs. So the information, even though many of these pioneering doctors have written amazing books, and he's not the only doctor that knows iodine is necessary and the soil is depleted and it's not there. It's just that, as they have all said, as many of the doctors have said, we have many 2 decades worth, 3 decades. It can take 20 to 30 years for new learning to get to the medical doctors, and so if the answer is that we have to become educated. We have to take the responsibility for learning.
It's
and
our
what
health.
I try to do is make it simple so people don't feel overwhelmed. I've put so many handouts on my website, and as much of the information I've learned from these doctors, I try to put as much as I can on my website so that people can just go and read and say, I can do that. I can get on a good dose of vitamin D. I can ask my doctor to check my level, or you can order a kit online and check it yourself. And see, gee, am I even in the middle of the range? The middle of the range is 65. If you're at 32, gee, you're not good enough. If the range goes from 30 to 100.
It's interesting, because we assume that we have everything handled for us, Like, the FDA and the USDA wouldn't put it out there if it wasn't healthy. A lot of times we're under the assumption that we have everything taken care of.
Right.
And how is that dangerous?
Well, there's a lot of greed ruling a lot of decisions that are being made. So, I can say that money controls a lot of things in this country, and there are many, many health issues that we don't hear the truth about, because if we know the truth, we're going to make different choices. fortunately, doctors like David Brownstein and Mark Hyman
But it's the
and William
truth.
Davis, it's knowing the truth that's going to empower you to make different choices, you know?
Hmm.
And so I think the important thing is getting the information to people and encouraging them and saying, you know, if you just make these few changes, if you just begin supplementing with the nutrients that aren't in our food
Hmm.
or are hard to get in our food, even magnesium is
Hmm.
hard to get in your food because of depleted soil and because of what foods it is found in, you know,
Hmm.
dark leafy greens that are grown on good soil that, you know, it's not even going to give us enough, even if we ate a couple, 3 cups of that every
Hmm.
day. And then we can manifest all kinds of symptoms from anxiety to not sleeping well at night to having leg cramps to, you know, magnesium's involved in 200 functions in the body.
Yeah,
So
and you
we
said the
can't,
brain as well. That's the
yeah,
thing
and the
too.
brain.
Like with mental illness, you were talking about treating that with nutrition.
Well, that's what Dr. Perlmutter has written about in his book. You know, he tells story after story of his patients, and, you know, the brain is very sensitive to what we take in
Hmm.
into the body. And he just sees dramatic changes in his patients when he teaches them how to eat and
Hmm.
reduces the carbohydrates and teaches them more ketogenic eating, at least paleo, where they're getting protein, good fats, fruits and vegetables, and you know, leave the wheat and the flour foods out unless there's something like, you know, spelt, which is real wheat, is ancient wheat that hasn't been genetically changed, and have a small amount of those carbs and keep the proteins and the
Mm.
fiber in the veggies and the good fats
Mm.
like coconut oil, olive oil, and your good nuts, and build your diet around those foods.
Yeah.
You know, if you do that, I see this every day in my office. People will make a few changes, and I tell them, you know, you don't need to do this
Mm.
perfectly. Your body is going to respond so well to just giving it the nutrients you've been missing, eating better food, less processed packaged
Mm.
foods, and, you know, getting some exercise. It's amazing what it does
Yeah.
to heal. You know, we were designed to heal. We have this amazing healing system within the human
It's
body.
automatic.
Yeah, but the body can't stay well when we're lacking all these nutrients because they're not in our food and we're not supplementing with them, and we're using
Yeah.
chemicals and getting exposed to chemicals in all kinds of ways, you know, from personal care products, laundry products, you know, like I said, in the water,
Mm.
air fresheners. I mean, we are inundating the body with toxins that it then has to process.
Yes.
And it needs nutrients to do that.
Right.
So we can avoid them and then give the body what it needs and get better sleep. Another big toxic issue is EMF exposure, which has
Yes.
just gone crazy
Right.
in the last
This is
while.
Wi-Fi.
Right.
Right.
And now, starting on Sunday, there's a free summit. And I think if you Google electricsense.com, you can read about it. It's free. It's going to go on for, I think, 5 or 6 days with about 30 different medical doctors and
Nice.
other professionals teaching
And
who are addressing, hey, here's what you can do to make the space in your home cleaner, you
right.
know, to make it a safer space to be in.
For
How to turn,
kids.
yeah, for kids, for adults, how to turn your Wi-Fi off at night, to keep
Yeah.
your cell phone out of the bedroom, to get protection on your cell phone, get
Yeah.
a diode that's going to reduce those EMFs so you're not getting exposed all the time, you know, every time you talk on the phone. You can get the diodes, they're not expensive. You know, the link to that is on my website too.
And what
And
is your
start
website? Where can people find this?
Wellness Centre Marquette, and center is spelled with an R-E, so wellnesscentermarquette.weebly, W-E-E-B like boy, L-Y.com. And under new client, I put all the handouts I give my people the first time they
Yes.
come. I have a women's health section there,
Right.
which has
And
a
it's
great
free.
article
It's
on,
free to access.
right, and the women's health, it has several articles, but one long one on breast cancer prevention.
Mm-hmm.
It's actually breast and prostate cancer prevention because they tie in together. You know,
Mm-hmm.
you do some of the same things for both of those cancers that are estrogen driven. And, you know, I have a section for adolescents and children,
Mm-hmm.
a section on thyroid, which is good because you can take a questionnaire and say, oh, how many symptoms do I have of low thyroid, you know?
Yes. Yes.
And what tests you can ask your doctor to run. A lot of, and then I have the links for Dr. Brownstein's website, Dr. John Lee's website, all under new client on that Guidelines to Optimal Health page.
Right.
So people can go and get information,
Right.
I don't like them to be on information overload because then they start getting all
Shut down.
stressed. And I say,
Yeah.
no, stress is the last thing we want right now. Just do these simple things first, and then you're going to have more energy. You're going to feel better, which they always say when they come back. So then you can take the next step. So today do this, get these nutrients in and start eliminating some of these foods, and don't drink 6 cups of coffee in a day. 1 is great. Lots
Yeah.
of water.
Yeah.
Like there are things that
What's the deal with coffee?
Well, it's got a lot of negative effects on the body, even though I have people say, oh, but Dr. So-and-so said there's all these good antioxidants. True. You can get good antioxidants in a lot of different foods, but coffee is dehydrating. It is, adrenally stressful. It stresses your adrenals. It signals that fight or flight response, and it's very acidifying. So, because it's so acidic, we are using up our mineral stores to neutralize the acid of the coffee.
Blood.
And so, in the end, because it's dehydrating and causes us to lose minerals, it actually makes us more tired. We get a pickup. It's temporary.
Yes.
Until we have the next cup, because then the blood sugar can start crashing, and then, we need another cup. But in the end, if we took away the coffee, then you'll know how do you really feel without an artificial stimulant,
Years.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And I mean, I have people, they love their 1 cup of coffee in the morning. I tell them, great, put some good fat in it, good cream that's hormone free or whatever fat you want to put in it. I have people that like
Cashews.
coconut oil in their coffee.
I like cashews.
In your coffee? Do you?
Well, with
your coffee. Okay, that's fine.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, get your fat, and then always have it after you had a couple glasses of water. Don't let it be the first thing you drink, and
Right.
always have it with your good breakfast. Sip it with food to slow it down,
Right.
so you don't
That's a big thing too, is breakfast.
Yeah.
A lot of people are, no, I don't like breakfast. I can't eat as soon as I wake up.
And you can wait an hour or
Yeah.
even a couple, but to skip it and only have coffee, that's not good. And I just tell people who don't want to get up and have 3 eggs and a 3-egg omelet,
Sure.
I said, so make a protein smoothie. Use some good hormone-free whey powder if you can handle milk, or you can use hemp hearts and chia seeds if you can't handle dairy like me. I mean, you have all kinds of options. There's vegan proteins, there's pea protein. Put a little fruit, use a non-dairy milk, and you can make a great smoothie in a minute.
Yes.
And at least you're getting good fats,
Yes.
protein, and you're not going to crash your blood
Some
sugar.
fruit for carbs.
Yeah, right. Just so you don't go overboard with 2 cups of fruit,
Right.
because some people really are going to feel way better if they limit the carbs. And get
You
some
won't
good
get that
fat in
crash.
there. Yeah, you can use MCT oil, which is kind of a liquefied kind of coconut oil, or hemp hearts or chia seeds. Both have good fats. Getting the good fats in with every meal is wonderful. And good
Yes.
fats are good.
Yes.
It's the bad fats that are bad.
What are the bad fats?
The bad fats are all those trans fats that we process, like corn
Okay.
oil and highly processed oils that we get at the store, or what's in margarine. Most of the margarines.
Hydrogenated.
If it says partially hydrogenated or hydrogenated, those are not good fats.
Okay.
We can get all the good fat we need in good quality nuts, coconut oil. Swanson Vitamins is a great website to get
Beans.
organic coconut oil.
Legumes, beans.
Yeah, those are good as long as you have enough of them to be
Yeah.
your protein food.
What about meats?
But clean meat is great.
Yeah.
Lots of people do well. The people that don't care to eat animal proteins, they can get their protein from beans and
Right.
other foods, nuts, all those kinds of things. But, if you're going to do meats, try to get meats that are hormone free, because
Yes.
it's the hormones that we give to the cows,
To
whether
keep
it's
them alive.
to make them grow fatter faster,
Oh.
to make them produce more milk for dairy. Those hormones, which are estrogen based, they're all in the meat or in the fat of the milk.
Yes.
And so then we ingest them in addition to other environmental estrogen acting chemicals. And those estrogens are driving the vast majority of our breast and prostate cancers, okay? Even uterine and ovarian cancers,
overloading?
Sure, we have estrogen is a very, the signal of estrogen is grow, 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 keep multiplying, keep going, and so it's a hormone that can cause abnormal
It's a
cell
steroid,
growth. Well,
right?
it's not, it's a steroidal hormone, we call it,
Okay.
okay? And and it's not good to have all this exogenous exposure coming from the outside.
Yes.
And we're seeing such an increase in these cancers. Why 1 in 7 women with breast cancer, 1 in 3 men with prostate cancer? They're both being caused by estrogen.
Wow.
Absolutely. And the doctors who've researched it will write about it. John Lee wrote a big section in his one book on that. And he said, we have to reduce exposure. We've got to take the nutrients we're missing, like vitamin D3 and iodine, to beef up the immune
Yeah.
system and keep it strong. But we got to stop the hormone exposure.
Yeah.
We've got to choose clean meat, clean dairy, avoid personal care products that have things like phthalates. And I've written it on my website on that Guidelines to Optimal Health page under New Client. So when you choose personal care products, choose the ones that are clean.
Yes.
You can get those from swansonvitamins.com too, because we don't want extra chemicals that act like estrogen. You put them on the skin, they get in the bloodstream, and then we
Yeah.
just keep building up these levels until they start doing their signaling, and that's when we get into trouble,
Yep. Yep.
So, yes, we can learn these simple things in the Guidelines to Optimal Health on that one sheet I have under New Client on my website.
Yes.
I I gave lots of about I tried to consolidate everything. I
Right.
talked about water, I talked about cell phone protection, dietary guidelines, like
Mm-hmm.
what foods to
Avoid.
avoid and which foods to eat more of. And if you can get organic of the dirty dozen being the fruits and vegetables
Yeah.
that are the most
So
sprayed,
like berries,
like berries, like
apples,
greens,
apples.
like apples, nectarines,
Yes.
potatoes. Unfortunately, we spray those 4 times in their growing season, so if you can choose clean it's very hard to wash those sprays. You can't wash those sprays off of like berries and greens,
Yeah, the dirty does, and you're eating the
Yeah.
skin.
Yeah, right, right.
If you're
I
eating,
mean,
I always know if
right.
you're eating the skin, you gotta really watch it.
Right, right. And I mean, you could peel
You're not
potatoes.
gonna peel
Um,
strawberries,
yeah,
right?
right, right. But I remember celery is on that list, potatoes, the
Yeah.
blueberries, the strawberries, apples, nectarines. Those are all.
Mm.
Grapes are really an issue because the skin is so thin. Everything passes right
Mm.
through. And so, if you can get organic of those dirty dozen foods,
Right.
great,
Right. That's
and and then just start to clean up what you're ingesting
yes.
and get the nutrients in you're missing.
And notice the
And
difference.
yeah, and the body does wonderful things when we keep that blood sugar stable because we're having protein and fats with each meal instead of,
Right.
starting the morning with a bowl of
Cereal.
cereal. And even if it doesn't have added sugar, it turns into sugar so quickly.
Yeah. It's
Grains
glucose.
do.
Glucose. Boom.
Yeah, so we're not getting the 20 grams of protein we need to have stable blood sugar with some good fat, and so then in an hour we're hungry again. Or,
Right.
a good meal ought to last you 3 or 4 hours. You should feel good energy,
With the healthy
clear
fat,
mentally, you know, um, not hungry, not
along with
tired.
hydration.
Yeah, and plenty of water, and if you do a good amount of water when you first wake up, it's a good way to start the day. Lemon in your water's
And you
fine.
said you said
Even
watch city water.
Well, yeah, because chlorine and fluoride are both blocking iodine absorption, magnesium absorption. We
Mm-hmm.
know that. That's biochemistry. And and so therefore we end up causing the thyroid to work less well because iodine can't get in and fluoride gets in its place because it's a heavier halide. That's the family of chemicals.
Yes.
And so if the fluoride gets in, it blocks the receptors from any little bit of iodine that might be in your diet, unless
Right.
you're a Japanese and eating all this seaweed,
Yeah.
which, by the way, they get 100 times the RDA that we are told we need, the coastal Japanese, just in what they eat. And their incidence of breast cancer, prostate cancer, thyroid cancer, all the cancers that relate to low iodine is so much lower than ours.
Right.
So it's very
So
interesting that
iodine is just for cancer. Isn't it good for the brain as well?
Well, you need to have it to make your T3 thyroid hormone that needs to go to the brain and
Okay.
help your brain work. Iodine is needed for many, many functions in the body. If there's not enough, we don't have the benefit of it going around and circulating in the bloodstream and acting against abnormal cells. It's pretty amazing the many roles it
Something
has.
that I noticed a tremendous difference in my dreaming when you gave me magnesium,
And probably the iodine
and I
too.
started doing the magnesium and the iodine and the vitamin D. I noticed not only better color in my skin, but better sleep, which led to vivid dreams, and I remembered my dreams like all too
Yeah.
well. Like it was almost weird.
Yeah, we should be remembering dreams, but people will tell me that, oh, I'm dreaming. No, you were dreaming. You just, you don't remember them, but sometimes you don't get into the
But that just
dreaming
makes me
either.
think like the mental state, waking or sleeping, must be improved.
Sure, sure. Well, all of those. Carolyn Dean is a MD, ND that wrote the Magnesium Miracle, and it's amazing. I haven't even gone cover to cover with it, but just what she says about we have the need for magnesium for at least 200 functions in the
Yeah.
body that we know of, but we don't have have so little in our food.
This is big for
And
me,
it's big.
right? Because it's like I'm always trying to be my best and help others to be their best. And if this information was out there for me and others, everybody
Sure.
can maximize their potential
Right.
and truly, do what they're meant to do.
And you're an athlete and you coach athletes.
Hmm.
If we sweat out magnesium.
Yes.
We have to replace it.
Hmm.
If we don't replace
And
it, we're
right.
at a deficit,
And potassium, right? And
But it's
sodium,
easier to get potassium
much
in your
easier.
food, in your fruits, and even vegetables. It's not so easy to get magnesium. So, it does need to be replaced. It does improve sleep. People tell me this all the time. They sleep so much better. They
Hmm.
feel more relaxed because it's a calmer for the nervous system.
Hmm.
It's an antispasmodic, so headaches get better. Asthma gets better. Some doctors that are aware of magnesium will actually look at levels of magnesium doing what we call a red blood cell magnesium test, so they can look inside the red blood cells and see really how is the level of magnesium,
Right.
where you're going to see the majority, much more of it in the red blood cells. And they'll look right away and say, wow, this person is low, they're having an asthma attack, we're going to give them an IV of magnesium, and
Right
it
back.
calms the
Right.
spasming down. So it would be wonderful if more information was out there, and I'm so glad that these doctors are teaching seminars. David Brownstein's going, I actually brought him to Marquette about 12, 15 years ago to teach a group of doctors and nurses and PAs, about 50 of us, and he did it at Northern at one day, and it was so good. It was inspiring. It just wasn't long enough. We probably had 7 hours with him. And I've been trying to get him back, but he teaches all over the world
Yeah.
now and he's writing books. And I did get to see him a few weeks ago when I
Yeah.
went down to his clinic. But, these docs are writing books to share the information. They have newsletters, they have a blog. David Brownstein's blog is amazing, and he doesn't do it often, only when
Yeah.
it's an important
Yeah.
issue, and he'll speak out about whatever it
So
is,
there's no fluff.
No fluff and no conflict of interest. I love
Yeah.
how he puts that at the bottom of his
And
blog
it
every time he
seems
writes one.
it
I have no
seems
conflict of
yeah.
interest.
It seems daunting, talking about all this stuff like how the system is broken and the people aren't getting the help that they need. The awareness, the education isn't there even for our
Yeah,
doctors.
right.
But not all hope is lost.
No, I mean, I think you have some doctors that are really eager to learn new things. And the problem is we have a medical system that, is pretty well directing them as to how they need to
Hmm.
practice medicine. And it hasn't incorporated a lot of
It
this,
doesn't encourage it.
So an educated patient is the best thing. You
Right.
can go in and say, if you have an issue, will you help me figure out the underlying cause on this? I
Ask some
am doing X,
questions.
Y, Z.
Right.
Please, will you check my vitamin D level? I want to be at least in the middle of the range. And by the way, I hear this all the time when people get them checked and they get a call and say, well, yes, you're really low, but everybody's low in the UP. And then they tell them to take 1,000 IUs a day. And when they tell me that, I just say, you will never get your level up on 1,000 a day. So I know that from what people have done, and I have done personally, if you do 10,000 a day for about 3 months, you'll usually see that come up about 20 points. But if you're so low that you're only at 20 and you want to be at 65, you're going to have to be patient and take a good amount, but you're not going to get where you want to be on 1,000 a day.
Right.
We keep changing the RDA, but it takes so long for us to go from 400, where it
Recommended
once
daily
was,
allowance.
to 1,000 is the big step. And I'm
Yeah.
thinking, oh my goodness,
It's nothing.
we have people that are really needing a higher level because vitamin D isn't a vitamin. It's a prohormone. It
Right.
affects depression. It affects, the function of the thyroid. It affects the heart tremendously.
The
You'll
bones.
protect the heart when you have good levels of vitamin D. And, it's needed for so many things in the body.
Yep.
Yeah. And
Ossification.
right. And really, it's not in milk, okay? Just so people understand. The D2 that's in milk is a synthetic D and it does not get absorbed well.
Vitamin D2.
And you are not going to get your vitamin D in milk. And milk
Right.
usually isn't an ideal food for most people,
Yeah. It doesn't agree with the stomach.
Well,
And that's what you hear a lot. Oh, yeah, I get
yeah.
plenty of calcium. I get plenty of vitamin D
Yeah.
because I drink milk.
The crazy thing about calcium, I read one doctor who wrote an article on milk and said, by the time we pasteurize and homogenize the milk, we really bind up the calcium, so it's not really absorbable. So actually, you'll get more calcium in carrots and broccoli and greens and
Yeah.
almonds, and that's where you're going to get some good calcium.
Yeah.
Maybe kefir, yogurt that they're pre-digested and you'll absorb them better, but get them clean without hormones, without the antibiotics and hormones, so you're not ingesting more that your body has to clear out,
Yeah.
We give the body so much work to do, and then we kind of say, just do it.
You're on your own.
But I'm not going to give you what you need to do it.
Like it's something separate.
Yeah.
Like our nutrition is something separate than us. We detach from it.
Well, it's not what we have learned, and we also have this conception that, if it's in the grocery store, it must be okay.
It must
The
be
government
safe.
must have approved it. It must be safe. And
They put cigarettes in the grocery store and hard alcohol.
I've heard doctors say 90% of what's in the grocery store is not good food. So go to
90%?
90 because it's processed, packaged,
Blows me
really
away.
depleted. So go and get your clean proteins, your fruits and vegetables, your good fats, and that's all you need to have a good diet.
I eat the same thing every day, and some people think that's crazy.
I put a few recipes on my website for the treats because I know people are thinking, "Oh my gosh, I can't not
How do I
have
do
sugar
this?
or,"
Yes.
and really you can use other sweeteners, honey, maple syrup, liquid stevia.
Yeah.
There's all
Yeah.
kinds, and I put some recipes on there because I love chocolate and I had to
good.
figure out how to make
I'm
it so I
trying it
could
today.
eat it. You are.
Yes.
There is a way to make everything. There's nothing you have to do without. You can use almond flour and coconut flour and great recipes on elenaspantry.com. It's a great website. So there are good choices. It's just this education process and don't think of all the things that you have to stop eating. Think about what you can eat that's really going to nourish
That
you.
is a value.
Yeah.
Right? You get what you pay for.
And once you feel better, you want to do more. It's like it's the big motivating factor. People will come in and say, "Wow, I don't have to take a nap after work anymore.
Wow. Yeah.
I can play with my kids. I have energy
I
to
can do what I love to do. I can
exercise."
do the things that
Right.
set me free.
And the reality is, if we don't have our health, we don't have one of the most important things we need to do whatever it is we love to do, our work that we've been given to do, whatever it is that we do in this lifetime. Without our health, we can't do it,
Yeah. It's
not
that
nearly
purpose.
as well,
It's the why,
Yeah.
right?
I mean, feeling well allows you to go and pursue all the things you want to do and learn
To
more.
fulfill yourself,
That's right.
right?
That's right.
And you seem more than convinced. You seem passionate about these subjects and about what's going on here. What do you attribute that to?
seeing people make complete turnarounds. It really doesn't matter. I mean, I have clients who have had cancer
Yeah, it's
and
more
dealt
than
with really
something.
big issues,
It's more than
and
something you just read in a book or heard a doctor talk
right,
about.
right.
You know.
I've seen some of them do alternative treatments, and I've seen them do them very successfully. I've
Hmm.
seen them, come back and say, this is better and this is better. And, I'm not depressed anymore since I started doing the vitamin D and I got my thyroid situation straightened around. I don't need an antidepressant. My cholesterol has normalized. This
Hmm.
has happened, that has happened. And they're just excited about life again,
Yeah.
so many times they get discouraged
Yeah.
because some of them go from doctor to doctor and they're not getting the help they need, And it's exciting to see them excited about life again, just as I was when I think, wow, I didn't start feeling well until I was 45. That's a lot of life to
Yeah.
miss, And wish I would have had more energy in those years when I was taking care of my kids.
Hmm.
And so now feeling well and being 69, it's a real gift. It's a real blessing, to be
Yeah.
able to go and cross country ski and do other things that I love to do.
And
And
crush workouts.
yeah, right. And enjoy my grandkids. I have
Yeah.
7 beautiful
Yeah.
grandkids. So I'm really,
And get
really,
outside and
yeah.
do all this
I
stuff.
mean, I don't want to not have energy to do those things.
Right.
And I really believe in my heart, people can be so much better if they just address those basic things that I've all spelled out on those guidelines. Eat good food, stop putting in those foods that are causing inflammation and wearing the body down.
Yep.
That includes sugar, that yes includes wheat, and it's even organic wheat. I gotta tell you,
Flour.
because people will come in and I always test organic wheat. That's always what I use. And I'm just explaining to them, it's great that it was grown organically. The problem is the seed they start with has been genetically altered, and it's an inflammatory food now. And so spelt is the real thing. You can do that if you don't
Hmm.
have a gluten issue. And so I see the same patterns again and again. People get feeling better, their energy increases, and they're happy because they feel well,
Right. Right. And when you
And
witness it firsthand
yeah,
and you went through that firsthand, it means the world to you.
sure. And it means the world to see children
Mm.
who, if they're ADHD, what really is the problem? It's not that they need a medication. The medication, I love how Dr. Brownstein says it. My patients don't have a medication deficiency. My high cholesterol patients don't have a statin deficiency. I need to figure out what is causing it to be high. Is it how they're eating?
Yeah.
Is it that their thyroid function is sluggish, low,
Yeah.
which you're going to know when you
And that's
see
the doctor's
symptoms?
job.
Yeah, but in their defense, it's not the approach we've taken in this medical
It's not what
system.
they're
It is
taught.
not what medical schools are teaching. And so they come out and they have so much to learn, and they need to learn about the medications, and they need to learn so much. And nutrition and addressing underlying causes is just not an important part of what they learn. In many cases, it's not even anything that they learn. And I think when you have a doc like David Brownstein, who saw it work firsthand with his dad, and within 6 to 8 weeks, his dad needed none of the meds he
Mm.
was on before. I mean, that's exciting.
Yeah.
That's why he's doing what he's doing now. He didn't know any of that.
Right.
As soon as that happened, he decided, you know what, this is what I want to learn
It's,
more
a,
of.
it's in my mission.
Yep.
Right.
And so that was 25 years ago, and he's written all these books and trying to teach other doctors. He has doctors come in to his clinic and mentor, do their clinical
Hmm.
time to learn. And he challenges them and he asks
Hmm.
questions. And he said, this is how you can help your patients,
Yeah.
and encourage them to be proactive and them to make some changes and use meds when you really need them, but they're not the first resort, in a
Yeah.
lot of cases. You can
Hmm.
say, hey, here's your part to do. I'm going to check your nutrient levels. And he does this. He checks nutrient levels in all these different nutrients and says, you are low in this, you are low in this, you are low in this. You need to get these into the body so the body can do its work. That makes sense to me. I know it's worked with me. And it's been a wonderful journey to learn all of it from these doctors who are so passionate about teaching their patients. Yeah, they really have so much caring for their patients. They want to see them get better. Yeah. And so they figure out what is it that we need to address here. But what's interesting is they all say the same things. Get the diet right, get the nutritional intake right, get the hormones balanced in a safe way, check the whole hormone system, including the thyroid, thoroughly, and make sure that's functioning well. And then the body does magic. The body does magic. It's amazing what can correct. Yeah, but it's a miraculous creation we have, Yeah. It's amazing that
and it deserves
things
respect. It really does.
Yeah, it does, and we've not been given what the information we need
to respect
to know how to do that, And people get busy with life, and they're raising children, and they're working, and they're trying to do all these things. How much time do they have to read and sort through all this information? So I see my role as an educator who can share information with them from these wonderful MDs I've had
and
say, okay, let's start with these simple things, and you can do it, and you can feel better,
Yes.
I know that because I see it all the time.
And you did it.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful, beautiful mission, Valerie.
Yeah. Well,
and how can people find you? How can people get the resources they need to be well?
Go to the website, Wellness Centre Marquette. .weebly.com and start reading. Take the thyroid quiz, click on thyroid and take that questionnaire from Dr. Mark Hyman's book. Yeah, and go and start incorporating some of those guidelines that I wrote under New Client. Make sure you're getting your vitamin D in and your iodine and your other nutrients, and reduce your coffee and get good water. It's
Get
amazing.
excited about life again.
Yeah, all those things can just make a tremendous difference in how you feel, and realize that, first do those things and give the body a chance to heal, because we really don't want to put more toxic stuff into the body.
Right.
And addressing the underlying cause, like Dr. Brownstein said, he said that to this whole group of 50 doctors and PAs how many years ago? How are you really helping the patient if you don't identify and treat the underlying cause? You need to figure out what it is. And yes, that's why I'm here to try to help you do that, is what he was telling everyone. And it's not the approach I learned, but it's so rewarding to do this, because when you figure out the cause, you check the nutrient levels, you thoroughly evaluate thyroid function and hormone balance, then you're really correcting what's imbalanced so that the body can do its healing.
Right.
How exciting.
Right.
Really exciting.
Big time.
Yeah.
And I really appreciate you sharing all this with me. And on this podcast, it's enlightening, big time. And I think people will really get a lot out of it and be able to turn things around or keep on track, right? To stay inspired to do this for themselves. And I really admire what you're doing.
Well, thank you. I think if I were to just leave one thought with people, it's that no matter what your condition is, no matter what, you can do nothing but help the body address that and move towards healing by doing the same basic things, Even if you're dealing with cancer, a body that is nutritionally supported, that has adequate vitamin D and iodine levels, is going to be able to fight way better, And so nothing is hopeless. Nothing is beyond being able to be helped with giving the body nutrients, eating good food, and of course, our attitude is important too, being in a place of being in a place of gratitude, and that's hard to do when you don't feel well. But when we stress about it, we just create more, more acidity, more stress hormones. We don't need that. So, try to keep your mind in a good place, and just give your body the gift of good food, good thoughts, some movement, whatever you do, and let it do its work. It's an amazing creation. It's incredibly able to rebalance, and be patient. Sometimes it takes a little longer.
Yeah.
And do turn your Wi-Fi off at night, please.
Beautiful, Val. Well, thank you so much for your time again.
You're welcome.
Until next
It was
time, guys.
good to be here.
Ride the waves, dude.